Let's talk about AI in government. The promise is absolutely huge, right? We're talking about making government faster, smarter, and way more responsive than anything we've ever seen. But, and this is a big but, there's a paradox here, one that's super important to understand. So that brings us to the big question, the one we're really digging into here. Can AI actually deliver the government we've all been dreaming of? One that's efficient, totally fair, and actually serves people. It's a massive goal, for sure, but it's exactly why governments all over the globe are pouring billions into this tech. Okay, so first, let's dive into the dream scenario. What does this more perfect government, powered by AI, even look like? Because when it works, when it really works, the potential is just staggering. The OECD actually breaks this down into three main pillars. First up is productivity. Think about it, automating all the boring, repetitive stuff. A great example is in Australia, where they're using AI to automatically map land use from satellite images. This helps them respond to things like wildfires way faster. Then you've got responsiveness. This is about creating services that are actually designed for humans. In Norway, they had a chatbot named Frida that helps citizens get social benefits 24/7 right in the middle of a pandemic. That freed up the human staff to handle the really tricky cases. And finally, there's accountability. We're talking about using data to spot fraud and other risks. Spain's doing this right now, using AI to flag grant applications that look suspicious, which saves a ton of public money. And look, this isn't some far-off future thing. It is happening right now. The adoption rate is just exploding. Get this, in 2024, the US federal government alone had over 1,700 AI projects up and running. That's more than double the number from just the year before. So yeah, the train has well and truly left the station. But as you can probably guess, this kind of explosive growth has a flip side. For all the amazing promise, the early days of AI in government they've been littered with some absolutely catastrophic failures. A report from the Brookings Institution really put it bluntly. They said that while the optimism is there, the actual history of these projects is sullied. That's a strong word. So how does something so promising end up causing so much harm? Let's get into it. Let's start with a really famous case, Australia's Robodebt scandal. They set up an automated system to find people who'd been overpaid on their welfare benefits. The problem? The algorithm was deeply flawed. It started firing off thousands upon thousands of incorrect debt notices, creating just a massive wave of financial hardship and severe anxiety for some of the country's most vulnerable citizens. This wasn't some tiny bug in the system. It was a total systemic failure with a devastating, very real human cost. And believe it or not, it can get even worse. Take the Netherlands. They had a huge scandal with their child care benefits. The system used an algorithm to hunt for fraud, but it had bias baked right into its DNA. It used things like having dual nationality or a non-Western appearance as red flags. The results were just disastrous. Thousands of families were wrongly accused, many were driven into poverty, and in some of the worst cases, kids were actually taken away from their parents. It was a full-blown national crisis. So this really gets to the heart of the paradox, doesn't it? If the technology is so powerful and so promising, why does it keep going so spectacularly wrong? Well, the answer, as it turns out, has a lot less to do with the software itself and a whole lot more to do with the environment it's dropped into. And that right there is the key. The real upgrade that's needed isn't technical. It's not the software. It's the culture. The problem isn't the tool. It's the organization that's trying to use it. There's this great quote from Micah Godet, who is an expert in this stuff, that just nails it. He says, you can buy the absolute best tool on the market, but if your organization is brittle, defensive, siloed, allergic to feedback, that amazing technology is either going to get rejected or it's going to get absorbed in a way that just makes all the existing problems even worse. It basically supercharges the dysfunction. So what does he mean by a brittle culture? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like, an environment that just can't handle pressure or change. It's defensive, it's allergic to feedback. And in government, this often looks like a deep, ingrained fear of failure. There's this worry that any project that doesn't work out perfectly is a waste of taxpayer money. So everyone defaults to just doing things the way they've always been done because it feels safer. And this isn't just a vibe, okay? There's real data on this. A World Bank evaluation found that a staggering 90%, 90, of its own staff felt that there were basically zero incentives for them to take risks or innovate. So
So think about that. If the people on the inside feel like they'll get punished for trying something new and failing, how on earth can we expect them to roll out a game-changing technology like AI successfully?
Okay, so if this brittle culture is the real villain of the story, what's the solution? Well, it starts with completely rethinking the role of human beings in all of this. We have to see people not just as a backup plan, but as the very heart of the system. You've probably heard the phrase human in the loop, right? The idea is you have a person who gives the final okay, but that's thinking too small. It reduces the human to just a checkbox, a passive gatekeeper. The much bigger, more powerful idea is to think of the human as the loop. In this model, people aren't a checkpoint, they're the entire nervous system of the operation. They bring judgment, context, and all that crucial institutional memory that an algorithm will never, ever have. They're the ones who know the backstory, who get the nuance, and who know when it's actually the right call to take a risk. So, what does a culture that's actually ready for AI look like? Well, there are a few key signs. First, a diversity of intelligence. This means you're blending the tech nerds with the people who've been there for 30 years and the folks on the front lines. Everyone gets a say. Second, porosity. It's a fancy word, but it just means that information and feedback can flow freely across the organization without people being afraid to speak up. Third, iteration. This is huge. It means you treat experiments as a way to learn, not as a simple test you pass or fail. And finally, the big one, trust. A culture where, when a mistake happens, the first question is, what can we learn, not who can we blame? And look, this isn't just some feel-good philosophical idea. There's actually a practical, step-by-step way to start building this kind of culture and, actually get this right. The UK's National Audit Office laid out a really solid 4-step framework. Number 1, set a clear risk appetite. That means admitting, right from the top, that not every single project is going to be a home run, and that's okay. Number 2, foster fast learning. Be ready to quickly figure out what's working, kill what isn't, and pour resources into the successes. Third, encourage managed risks. This means creating a system of accountability that actually supports innovation, instead of just punishing anything that deviates from the norm. And last but not least, harness new technology. You have to actively manage the risks of AI, sure, but you can't let that fear stop you from grabbing the incredible opportunities it offers. Which really brings us back to where we started. At the end of the day, as we're standing on the edge of this amazing new technological frontier, we've got to remember something really important. The biggest thing holding us back isn't what our technology can do. It's about the readiness of our organizations, our institutions. The real challenge here isn't technical at all, it's human. So the real question we have to ask ourselves isn't about the tech. It's, what will our culture allow?